Annabelle's veil. Emily no longer felt like herself. She still walked the same halls, ate the same meals, and wore the same clothes, but beneath the surface, something had shifted. Her reflection no longer mimicked her exactly, its expressions were a fraction delayed, its eyes colder. She avoided mirrors entirely now. Her mother, Margaret, had taken to sleeping with a crucifix under her pillow. Her father kept a loaded pistol in his drawer, though he never said why. There was a heaviness in the house, an invisible pressure that pushed down on them all. Lights buzzed before going out. Doors creaked open even when locked. At night, whispers crawled through the walls. One morning, Emily woke with dirt under her nails. She didn't remember leaving her room. Later that day, her mother found muddy footprints trailing from the back door to the kitchen. Barefoot. Small. Emily denied everything. But in the attic, something else had begun. The old rocking chair moved on its own. Boxes fell without warning. Shadows curled in the corners like waiting animals. And in the center of it all, Annabelle sat upright on her antique chair, as though presiding over a court of ghosts. Father Adrian arrived unannounced. He wore a long coat and a tired expression. The years had weighed heavy on him, and Black Hollow looked worse than he remembered. He rang the bell. Margaret answered. "You don't know me," he said, "but I know this house." She stared at him, her hand shaking on the doorknob. "I believe your daughter is in danger," he said. That got him inside. They sat in the drawing room. He explained everything, his research, the past owners, the burned orphanage, the girl named Laura, and the cursed doll that always seemed to return. Margaret listened, tears in her eyes. "She's changed," she said. "She speaks in another voice sometimes. We thought it was trauma, but it's not. It's something darker." "Has she made contact with the doll?" he asked. Margaret nodded. Father Adrian took a breath. "Then we must act quickly." Emily sat in the basement that night, surrounded by candles. The walls were covered in writing now, symbols drawn in charcoal and blood. At the center was a crude drawing of Annabelle, her eyes crossed with red excess. Emily's eyes were hollow. Her skin was pale, lips cracked, teeth slightly stained. She was chanting. Not in English. The floor vibrated beneath her knees. And in her mind, a voice whispered, "Let me in." Annabelle sat in her lap, her dress slightly torn, one porcelain cheek cracked. Emily didn't resist. She smiled. That same night, Father Adrian prepared for the exorcism. He set up in the drawing room, converting it into a makeshift sanctum. Candles, crosses, salt lines, holy water, and the Bible. He told the Carters what to expect. She may scream. She may say terrible things. But it is not your daughter speaking. Margaret sobbed into her husband's arms. They brought Emily in. She didn't struggle. She smiled, calmly, and sat in the chair. Annabelle was in her hands. The ritual began. The air grew heavy. The windows fogged. The candles flickered. Emily sat still for the first few minutes. Then, her head dropped forward, and a low growl escaped her throat. Father Adrian sprinkled holy water. She hissed. "I command you, in the name of God, to reveal yourself." Emily looked up. Her eyes were black. "Adrian," she said in a voice not her own. "Still pretending you can save them?" He kept reading. Dominus vobiscum. Et cum spiritu tua. Emily screamed. Her chair rattled. The walls groaned. The fire in the hearth flared. She belongs to me now, the voice hissed. She invited me in. We are one. Father Adrian threw salt. Emily thrashed violently, her mouth opening unnaturally wide. Her veins darkened under her skin. The doll's head turned on its own. Then everything stopped. Silence. Emily slumped forward. Father Adrian approached, slowly. Suddenly, she lunged. The crucifix around his neck snapped. She grinned, blood on her teeth. You are too late, priest. The lights shattered. A gust of wind tore through the room, extinguishing every candle. Darkness swallowed them. When the lights returned, Emily was gone. So was Annabelle. Father Adrian stood at the center of the room, bleeding from his forehead. The Carters were huddled in the corner, too terrified to speak. The only sound was the whisper of footsteps on the stairs. Emily walked the halls like a ghost. She no longer slept. She no longer ate. She no longer bled. The thing inside her was growing stronger. Her dreams were full of fire and screaming faces. She watched herself in the mirror at night, staring into eyes that weren't hers. One evening, she stood in the attic, holding Annabelle. I'm ready, she said aloud. The doll smiled. The attic door slammed shut. And the ritual began. The attic groaned under the weight of silence. Emily stood at the center, barefoot, eyes rolled upward, her hands soaked in blackened blood. Candles lined the floor in a jagged circle, their flames casting flickering shapes on the sloped ceiling. The symbols drawn around her pulsed softly in the dark. Annabelle rested at the foot of a crude altar, an arrangement of bones, old wood, and torn fabric from the doll's own dress. Her cracked porcelain face stared straight up at the girl who had summoned her true form. Emily whispered the words again. Words that had not been spoken aloud for centuries. Words not meant for human tongues. With each syllable, something in the walls moved. The insulation groaned. The beams creaked. The house exhaled, long and cold. Downstairs, Father Adrian awoke in a cold sweat. She's doing it, he whispered to himself. She's opening the veil. That morning, Margaret Carter found every mirror in the house shattered. The reflections had turned on them. In one, she saw her daughter staring at her from behind her own reflection, Emily's mouth moving independently, her eyes white, lips whispering silent curses. In another, she saw herself hung from the rafters, her face purple and bloated. The last mirror didn't reflect at all. It was a window into a black hallway, lit by candlelight, and at the end stood Annabelle. Smiling. Then it cracked. Outside, the weather turned violent. Rain lashed the windows. Thunder cracked in the sky like splitting stone. Lightning revealed shapes that shouldn't exist, tall, thin figures walking between trees, stopping only when watched. The house had become a beacon. Annabelle's veil, the boundary between her world and theirs, was lifting. Father Adrian prepared a second rite, one far older and more dangerous. He called it the banishment of flesh. It was not a true exorcism. It was a war. Emily stood at her window that night, watching the trees bend beneath invisible pressure. Her mouth twitched. Her hands trembled. Inside her, the thing moved. Annabelle wasn't just a doll. She was a gate. And now, Fully awake, she wanted to cross over. "Let me in," the voice rasped. Emily nodded. The attic door opened behind her, though no one touched it. She turned. The candles had lit themselves. The altar was glowing. Father Adrian climbed the stairs with shaking hands. The Bible burned in his grip. His crucifix radiated heat. With every step, his memories returned: the orphanage, the fire, the eyes of that first girl who had whispered Annabelle's name. How she'd spoken in riddles and begged him to burn the doll. He hadn't listened. Now, he could feel her presence again, Laura, hovering just beyond the veil. The attic door creaked open. He entered. Emily hovered above the floor. Literally hovered, her feet 3 inches off the ground, her arms extended, her hair weightless. The air smelled of sulfur and damp earth. The symbols on the floor glowed blood red. Father Adrian saw the doll sitting upright, her cracked eye now filled with a black fluid that pulsed with something alive. He began to write. "By the light of the sacred flame, by the name unspoken, I call upon the veil to close." Emily screamed. Her skin split open along her arms, tiny slits that wept shadow instead of blood. Her teeth extended. Her voice layered, hers, and something beneath it. "Older. Wrong. Too late, Adrian," it growled. "She is mine." The wind howled through the attic, tearing pages from the Bible. A beam cracked. The roof began to bend. Still, he read. "May the sacred binding burn the bridge between worlds. May the offering be returned." Annabelle's head turned slowly to face him. "Who will you sacrifice, priest?" Suddenly, the doll flew from the altar and struck him in the chest. The crucifix on his neck shattered. Blood ran from his nose. Then everything went silent. When Father Adrian woke, he was tied to the attic floor. Emily stood above him. But it wasn't Emily anymore. Her eyes were pits. Her smile was carved too wide. Her body moved with jerks, like a puppet on broken strings. Annabelle hovered in the air behind her, spinning slowly, her dress fluttering without wind. "You failed," the thing said through Emily's mouth. "But you may still serve." It reached toward him. He closed his eyes and whispered one last prayer. Downstairs, Margaret found her husband's body hanging from the stairwell. His eyes were gone. The message written in blood above him read. She chose. That night, the house changed. Rooms rearranged themselves. Stairs disappeared. Time slowed. The fireplace burned green. In the walls, something moved, scratching, whispering, breathing. And in the attic, Emily tore her own face off. Beneath it, Annabelle smiled. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content like this. Thanks for watching.